So this is Something Psychedelic, the House of Antidote Team podcast. May you be thoroughly anchored in your multidimensional mastery, feeling deep ease about your authentic innocence, owning the full responsibility of your personal expansive experiencing. We are here for DCFO lifestyle because stimming saves the world, and we are loving it. I'm Kelsey O'Toole, your Antidote Aesthetic founder, facilitator, team lead, and true love. And I am here with Candy, who is the apprentice for the workshop. We are doing a rapid reparenting workshop this season, and we'll tell you more about that after our conversation. So I think Candy is going to ask me some questions to start off, which I've been craving for a long time because it horrifies me, but also takes me into storytelling in a different way than I can do on my own. So here we are.
Yay. I also feel nervous.
Perfect.
Um, I feel like I'm interviewing like Jesus
Awesome.
in some ways, for real.
I
I
love
love
that.
that that's how you like I at first I called you like sensei and then I've gone to Jesus, but for real but at the same time also like it, it's it's our it's friend as well and mother is sometimes and father sometimes like you really do have I at least for me and to like I think I told someone you said something to me about something that I did and it was like something that I've always been annoyed that I did because it was I was in the rooms weren't meant for me and it was like I was like wow I wonder like that's what it would feel like if like my mom had been proud of me like it was like so but I guess at a deeper level it's actually being in a place where I'm like um I truly like I respect you and I like the mirror back is it's maybe something I've never experienced. And my whole life, I've felt like I must be able to pick up on inauthenticity. And something about that is like just wrecks my nervous system. So it's like I'm finally in this place where it feel like it's like I've moved into this other dimension in this or like another place where it feels like so maybe that's the excitement I feel is sometimes I mean like I just got here. So I'm always like and that is an interesting thing for me to be talking about right now because I got pregnant at 17, so I had a baby at 18, but I went to school and like graduated and well, that's a whole story. We're not even gonna get in there yet. But that's like the that's like my like most shame with that stuff. But I did buy a house at like 20 and I always was it's like I was very for some reason it was very hard for me to be a beginner or young or uh like or someone or I guess for someone to like deem something that was out of my control as something, which it's like when you first start something, you can't like, there's such a expectation for you not to make mistakes here, I guess. So maybe that's it. Maybe it was like as a child, I could not make mistakes, so it's difficult for me to do things because I'm gonna make a mistake, and maybe that is it. But maybe those are all the things I'm feeling. It's like don't fuck it up when it's like
You can't. You
you
can't fuck it
can't.
up.
Right,
And
right.
I think that's like, I hear you say that, oh, it's like I'm interviewing Jesus. And like, I feel tickled, but I also feel very neutral. And because I love Jesus as a master of DCFO. And so what I experience when you say that is that like, ah, you are meeting me in the place as a master of DCFO and how humbling and exciting that is. And you're not the first person to say it. I
but
want to tell you two
also,
things from last year, just really quick,
yeah,
about
yeah.
Jesus. Is so my first apprentice, who was a woman I met when I had my baby, she crossed the room and was like, "I choose you. We're friends now." And I was like, "Wow, you're intense and beautiful. I accept." And last year, at some point, her husband said to her, "First you're obsessed with Jesus, now you're obsessed with Kelsey." And she told me that, but that morning, Maru, my kid, who was, 6 or 7 at the time, had said, "Mom, have you ever walked on water?" Like, I don't even think he knows the stories of Jesus walking on water. But I was just like, "No, son, not yet." Um, not in my conscious memory. Um, but it is just that like miraculous, inspiring presence that I mutually feel with the people who are offering me this feedback or having this experience of me. It's like I'm also having that experience of being um, inspired and mirrored into mastery.
Well, I
Makes
think
sense?
it's so, I mean, it's affirming everything that has been, I guess, like wanting to be this inside of ourselves is how powerful we really are when we get into our, like, what we're meant to create here. And that is just so inspiring for me. Like, um, that you're, because it's so much density to push through to follow what you feel your mission is, despite all the hurricanes and tornadoes and landslides. You know what I mean? Everyone's retreating and you're like, it's fine. It's fine. You know what I mean? So
Well, and also it's on my
yeah, and
to-do list. Oh, it's on my to-do list today to
I had
record
written
it.
down,
I think we're lagging and you're cutting out a little bit, so I keep popping in. Okay, let's just
oh man.
it's okay, we'll Reiki the video a little.
Yeah.
Okay, you go.
I had written down the word humble because in my experience with you, I have noticed like a level of humility with me and coming in this process. And I've recognized like side of me that I feel like would have been like resistant to um like I understand why, but you know what I mean. And I was thinking about that like 2 days ago, so I just thought it was interesting that you said that because there it seems that when I was thinking about it, I was just thinking like, wow, that is something that is really missing here is humility. People are It's very difficult to say I don't like think like I was just thinking how much I had to give in to trusting that and just admitting that I didn't know, like, or, admitting, like, or even wanting help or wanting support. And uh, I just think that can get really kind of clouded where, I don't know if that's like hyper independence or whatever, where it's like, you know, some of the good qualities need to be wiped out too. Not all where I think you're always just looking in the ones that you deemed the bad qualities. You're like, let me clean those up. But it's like some of those need to be cleaned up too.
Well,
So,
it's DCFO, it's letting go of everything. And like humility requires the capacity to be humiliated, which we have this grooming to avoid. We don't have the
yeah,
training to stand in the fire of being humiliated, which is just to notice an uncomfortable attachment, feel the heat of that attachment, and then like actually let that heat, that charge move all the way through. And I was gonna say before, it's funny because making a recording about Jesus is on my to-do list for today. And like, I had no idea that you were going to say that or that this was going to come up in this conversation, but I want to put that at the beginning of I want to add it to the Reiki training, which has been, in complete form for a couple of years, but there are some things that keep coming up that I want to add. And it's like, why? Because I grew up in the era of like the plastic, what would Jesus do bracelets?
Mhm.
And what would you, and I was like, seriously, what would he do? I don't hear anybody answering that. I hear these like stories and stuff, but there's no like actual like methodology to follow, and I freaking want it. And that's not exactly where DCFO came from. That's not the question I was like screaming at the universe, but um it does feel like that's the answer. What would Jesus do? WWJD, DCFO. And
Yeah.
DCFO is that capacity to stand in the heat of being humiliated and just be non-reactive. Your response is to move the energy above and below to maintain your unflinching capacity for acceptance and approval, which is uncommon, but also completely available in all of our designs. Like we have this capacity and we are unearthing it and remembering, and it's freaking uncomfortable and humiliating. And then we do get to experience the grace of being in a humble state with life. And there's probably nothing more delicious. And then you get
That
to admit all the
was,
stuff you felt compelled to hide and lie about, and you don't have to hide and lie anymore. And
I
it's
know, and
lovely.
it's so spacious. It's like right before I moved from Nashville, I went with my friend Kate to, I don't remember what they call them, but it's like a little room. It was so different than I thought it would be. It was like a little room, and there was like a cutout kind of closet, and they had created like a little pool, and it had magnesium in the pool, like lots of, so there was so much in it that you would lay in there and you would like float.
Mm.
And when you turned, and it got pitch black when you turned everything off, and I just floated in there, and it was just so spacious. And that's how it feels like that. It's just like, yeah,
I've been on
so
call with
much.
you a lot in the past few months. I've never ever heard a horn before in the background, but when you said float, then there was a beep, there's a horn. It was just like, I always take those kind of things as confirmation or as like, notice this when you said float. And so it's like float and humble, same, spacious. Yeah, you're creating this.
Mhm.
Yeah, collection of words that become a map because every word has so many meanings or connotations or experiences of it. But then when you collect them like that, there is this nonverbal meaning that comes forward that's like, that's it. And it's
Yeah,
feeling and sensing of it.
I just literally had the biggest like connection that I made in my head, and then I forgot it.
Oh,
Well, I'm gonna have to re-listen because you said something about, and I like literally,
it'll
oh
come
God,
back.
it'll come back. But I was like, it was so exciting. I couldn't even listen to what you were saying. I was like seeing like, oh, that was what that was. And then I was like, forgot. And then I was like, oh no, wait, come back. That was important. Um,
It will flow through again.
but
It's annoying when that happens though. It's like, and that though is another layer of this conversation is our desire to like grasp and force and hold on to and possess. But that blocks
that's
our.
what I was gonna say. That was I was gonna say the only way you would be humiliated is if you had an attachment
Mhm.
to how someone would respond to it, how it was gonna go, instead of literally just like this, instead of just inspired action, instead of just like getting in flow, there was like things that had to be, so that would be what it would be like, oh, no one came, no one showed up. Okay, you
Yeah.
know, are you gonna show up for yourself no
Mhm.
matter what? Because if you're only showing up because people show up.
You're externally motivated and everything is built on an insecure
Hmm.
vacancy as opposed to the vacancy of an open pathway that's enabled by being deeply anchored in yourself, like first and foremost,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I forget what word you used, but yeah, that being okay with yourself. And I feel compelled to say for anybody listening, watching that doesn't know what DCFO is yet, discharge plus circulation equals flexibility and openness. And so that floating spaciousness, humbleness, okayness with yourself, um, is the flexibility and openness in a nutshell. And then what we're talking about standing in the heat and moving the energy is like discharging, is like being able to be sensationally in the moment and let the energy recycle all the way through you, like which requires you to feel safe with yourself. And most of us didn't have that programming. So we're having to consciously invest and like be alive on the internet and meet random people across the world who are like, you make sense to me. And somehow I feel safe with you. Let's practice together. And then you build up the capacity to allow it into your everyday life. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Because everything in me was like, don't do that. But something was also do that. So
You
I
mean
was
signing up
like,
for the workshop?
and if we, yeah, signing up for the workshop. And if I probably listened back to the videos, I guarantee you I was talking fast because I was probably so nervous.
Yeah.
Um,
Because
and I
I couldn't
really,
even jump in. I would have had to be like, stop. Um, you were, but it
yeah.
was like you were also narrating layers and layers of life and letting it all connect. And I've shared with you, but I'll share with everyone that, like, I believe experientially, it is my perspective at this point that that is a prime capacity for liberating ourselves, is the ability to observe and narrate the layers of our own psyche and to get to experience that in a safe place without being interrupted became the offering because you were present. That wasn't exactly my intention. I was going to cut people off. I had a timer going. The timer went off and you continued and I was like, this feels what's meant to be. This feels like the intentions were there because that got me here holding this space, but this space is asking for something else. And
Mhm.
if all that occurs in this workshop is that this one person feels safer with themselves in this capacity, that is enough because this capacity is it
Mhm.
that enables
Mhm.
that safety to continue to expand. And then there's no doubt that you will be breeding that permission. And you've already shared so many times that like the people around you in your immediate life are responding
Yeah.
very directly to the
Yeah. It's
permission
like,
that they feel from your presence.
yeah, it's tangible and with everything. Um, me, like just it's, and I think so much of it is the spaciousness that I've had to be able to like it's not like massive things have changed. It's just my ability to handle what life inevitably hands it to me. And to, and like, it's also how this experience, um, like I feel like I have literally jumped through so many identities here. And it's really the number one thing it's taught me is how incredibly sensitive I was. And it's really like like when it's I'm seeing my capacity to hold so much already. It's just like it's like already there. Um and things that I didn't even like I'm realizing how incredibly sensitive I really was, but it was never acknowledged or respected. I was never treated in respect of. Quite the opposite, to the point of when someone was talking, like, you know, you pick up little bits and pieces, and I heard someone talk about how a part of breaking the generational patterns is actually metabolizing what is already in you. So I really started thinking about like what parts of me came from, you know, like what parts of the parts of my mother and my father that hurt me the most are alive in me as well, and what that like felt like. And so I'm thinking about my parents, and it's like all I can see is shadow. Like I just see so, and so I'm realizing like I'm a highly, incredibly sensitive person that got dropped in just so like it was just so sticky there. It was so gonky and terrifying. And um so and I've never just in like saying to my like just in the like acknowledgement like of wow, not how fucked up were you or how much did you ruin, but actually realizing like how like how much I was battling every day to make it to still be here. And that's really not, I'm not exaggerating. Like I I really did not, I completely discounted the level of horror that I went through every day, not blaming anyone on what they did, everything that it was it was to the best of everyone around me ability. But where I was a slow death for me every single day. And so and it was like before all of that pain I completely attributed to myself instead of just realizing that was so many things were not, I had no idea that I was picking up on other people's energies. I had no idea that I was intuitive in these ways. I had no idea that I was actually correct and accurate. I had
Accurate.
no idea I was being gaslit. I had no idea.
Hmm.
So it was like it was physical abuse, psychological abuse, emotional abuse, spiritual abuse. I mean, I was a little baby dropped in the middle of a terrifying. I mean, it was like I I haven't not seen a lot of TV. That's also a weird thing about me. Like my mom would never, like my mom wouldn't let me, oh, I couldn't have worn this, and we weren't really allowed to watch or listen to anything. And like when Titanic came out, I just really wanted to see that girl's boobs. So I I don't remember. That's a whole story, but I like somehow snuck the video. But so I haven't really seen movies and stuff. I wasn't allowed to. And like if we were on vacation at my grandmother's house, I would get so bored I would watch like Gaither family reunions. So, I don't even remember where I was going with that. Something I didn't know. But whatever. Anyways, okay, well, we could get into
Yeah, ask me a question.
the
Ask me about,
interview.
I like this conversation though that you were just having, like the actual everyday torture of living gaslit and not having language
Mm.
for it and attempting to put language to it and just that being like fuel on the fire, it exaggerating the gaslit experience.
Yeah, and you saying that made me realize like not only was my outer world hell, but my inner world was as well
Hmm.
because of the
Yeah,
not only my question of why, but also of just my trying to understand what the fuck is going on. Like,
yeah.
um,
Well, the dissonance.
so,
Yeah.
mhm. And so, thank you what that comment helped. But I, that was just meaning that like it's my even my perspective of myself, because I really think a lot of me not being able to get into not being able to like hover over the material and the spiritual world and in a balanced way comes from me thinking that I can't do it based on um, based on the based on how I responded in earlier in life without actually taking into like and so which is completely wrong. Like it's not correct. It's not accurate at all. It's like if I look from a different perspective, I understand how much I was navigating and
Yeah.
how actually amazing I was doing and how much discernment that has given me and this idea that I didn't do enough over here and that doesn't give me the ability to like to still be successful and to not be a fuck up is like it's just this conditioning programming that is keeping me small. Like I just see so many loops that it's very cunning, this game. Like it's so and I am realizing, oh my God, pattern recognition. I've had it my whole life.
Hmm.
And this is why, like, I'm starting to realize all, like, in understanding every layer they're poisoning, I can start to undo it in these faster ways because when I see how many layers you're doing, I'm actually able to maybe get into the psyche of it a little bit, like, oh, I see your end game.
Hmm.
So I understand what you're trying to do because even how I see the world right now, it's like I literally see how in all these ways it was like lower the ability to be aware so that it can still like I see it. And so it's like following the puzzle and my mind loves that.
Hmm.
Um
And you did it in lifetime
so
there where you went wrong, inaccurate, and then sorry, wrong, incorrect, and then inaccurate. And it's like that was like clicking puzzle pieces because using the word wrong is still participating in the toxic game. Correct is like uh a different angle of that moral conundrum. And then accurate actually like clears that part of the game. Like that level is complete. You're no longer participating in the right, wrong, weighing and measuring,
mhm.
judgment, opinion, etc. The accuracy is brings you into the moment, into the presence, whereas that weighing and measuring takes you out of it. And so we got to watch you be like, oh, I could land here. Oh, I could land here. This is where I land, and I then am transcending that conditioning, which would keep me away from experiencing a sanctuary inside myself. And that word
Yeah.
sanctuary wanted to come in earlier, where it's like, yeah, the dissonance and the world around us operating in that weighing and measuring judgment conditioning, we then take it on to try to attempt to belong and to assimilate with our caregivers, etc. And we feel tortured because they're like we find ways of experiencing sanctuary, I think, or we wouldn't have made it through. But what we're doing in like in the work that you stepped into with me and that you're now um, apprenticing, showing up to support to facilitate, is this rapid reparenting where we are showing up to remind ourselves and to mirror that no longer participating in what perpetuates the problem and the gaslighting, even though it's so wound into our operating system. And it is like that, like, oh, this awkward wrestling match in so many moments. But what remains when we live through the presencing with the wrestling match is this sanctuary inside that's like, oh, this was always there. I knew it. I knew it. Like how many times I've witnessed you be
Mhm.
like, I knew this. Like I felt this. And it's like, yeah, that there is this undying sanctuary of innocence and awareness and conscious respect for life and our exquisite sensitivity. It's like we're not actually, I'm not like teaching anything. It's just modeling an experiment with self to allow this to be revealed and remembered.
Yeah.
And you are an excellent experimenter
When
at that.
well, I hear that that's part of my human design, so I'm like, oh. And you said when you were talking about what you were just saying, just made me go back in my life to how many years I did trauma therapy and even some somatic practices in that, and how much resources I will went into that. There is so much. I know that there is a place for there to be like a place to be witnessed, right? But I could just see that it's almost like a cage. It's almost like it's almost like an illusion of um, healing or some type of freedom, because when you come into that space and all you're doing is like just talking about, and because I was just thinking what it just my question in my head that made me think that
Mm.
was like, wow, it has been, I mean, I felt it in my body how much change has happened, like how much movement has happened. And to for someone who has been desperate for that to move for so long, for so much, for me to be so like focused on getting somewhere with myself and not getting it, and then moving so fast has been a wild ride.
Mhm.
Amazing, but also kind of like it's been, I mean, it kind of feels like riding a roller coaster, honestly. For real. And totally. But it's like, I mean, it's amazing because you get off the roller coaster, it's like, whoa, like that's kind of how I'm feeling. And and it's like in therapy, there were times where I would get off something and it would feel so good. And it just made me realize like that sense of that, like momentarily high. What? I can't say that word. High that you feel is like that natural psychedelic that you get from that thing is really like an illusion. It is a cage because like, I think that is the first step in like, well, I don't even know that you need that because so much is, I've been able to, what we're really, I guess our question is like, what are the things that I need to release? And sometimes like, I know in therapy, there can be little things that you can find, but that without moving it, without realizing that these things are not things that need to be, like you said that time, shit out and eaten back up. It's like eventually there is like a place where it's like, yeah, these things that I'm talking about, they're just these things happen to us all the time, every day, all the time. We are constantly having things that we need to work through. We just pick and choose the things that we talk about and highlight. It's constant
Mm.
all the time.
And
That's the problem.
but there
Yeah.
again, like you highlighted there that in talk therapy or in conversation, and we are a lot of us addicted to the talking because the intellectual processing of our pain is exalted as mature, where nonverbal somatic has been lumped into immature. Like if you look at the mental health standards that have existed, the books, the Bibles of categorizing people's psychology. But you said it can feel naturally psychedelic in the moment. And it's like, yeah, because true discharge did happen there. And it did, you experienced an openness. You experienced your own flexibility and openness where some charge was able to be released in the verbal sharing, which is great. But if that isn't translated into you have access to this moment by moment by moment, and there are infinite ways of doing it, and you must access doing it non-verbally to be able to sustain it and to get into your true inner sanctuary because your first language isn't English, it's energy. And so if that translation and that support is missing, then that's where the looping comes in because you're looking for it in like the same spots and it like narrows the field and you get fixated on talking or telling the same stories because you're looking for that same high, that same like permission or validation that arrived in that moment. But where what I hear you pointing at is our need for it beyond it being fixated to a certain environment or one particular activity, and definitely um, removing the direct connection from just talking or telling a story. That what we need is the nonverbal and verbal permission that we can move the energy and recycle it all the way through us, that's where that like relief and magic alchemical feeling of the natural psychedelic comes from, is from the actual discharge, the completion of a feeling. But yeah, if you don't poop and eat it because you like, we got to let it compose, we have to let it recycle. You get to absorb when you get past that fixation of it happening just through one means or detached from this awareness of the full energetics. I'm getting like swirly talking about it. Um,
Innocence. That's all I kept thinking. It's the connection to your innocence.
and
Like,
innocence knows babies cry, but then we shush them. And so immediately it starts integrating. Oh, I'm not supposed to do like, not in words, but in an energetic imprint. You don't finish that cry. You do not finish that release of that energy. You are not allowed to let go. You are not allowed to feel safe with yourself and your natural intelligence. Your design was going in the direction of fully relieving your system of that charge, and someone came in and said, "Don't cry, baby," because they were programmed to believe that that was kind and supportive. But we're just perpetuating the discomfort. We're inheriting the the wound and the
mhm.
dysfunction and the ongoing gaslit. Like majority of
Yeah.
people on earth experienced that, being cut off from their crying. That is gaslighting, like suggesting your system isn't intelligent enough to know what it's doing right now, so I'm going to interrupt your process and tell you how it should be. Like that's gaslighting. I'm going to replace your authentic story with something um composed or performative.
It's more palatable for me.
Yeah, because your crying actually is encouraging me in my system. It's like shaking up stuff that needs release and relief.
Yeah.
And I don't feel allowed to do that. I don't feel safe with myself. So instead, I'm going to shush you and then do everything that it takes to stressfully insist that I am a good person for doing this, even though your own body is reacting in ways that it knows.
Mhm.
It knows that the energy has to move.
Or even the babies, then there was like that cry it out method.
Mhm.
Even those, it's doing the exact same thing. It's like it's interrupted because someone tells you shh, or it's interrupted because someone isn't meeting your needs and you
Yeah,
disconnect your heart.
because you're alone. You're not supposed to be alone with it either. That was so impactful, but in a way that was so provocative. I read this little book that's still somewhere on my shelf when I first had my kid. And it was like, I don't know, I don't read books to be honest. I don't read a full book very often. I find a book, feel drawn to it, open it, see a paragraph or a sentence, it's like, whoa, like lands with me. And then I'm like, great. And I often go back to that sentence, but that's mostly my relationship with books, to be honest. Um, but that book said a baby is going to cry and it's going to cry if you don't interrupt and you're holding it, and it's going to discharge to a certain point and then look to make eye contact. It's going to look for permission, for safety, that it's allowed to keep going. And then it's going to go into a deeper layer of crying. Once it gets that, like, okay, it's going to go into a deeper layer of crying. And then it's going to reach a point of actually discharging and then just being like, haha, we're good. Like, there's going to be like a joy or, yeah, a joy, a natural joy, because innocence is joy. And so
Yeah.
it just needs to discharge because it's absorbed stress and whatever else. And so there is this middle marker. And so the cry it out method misses that, where it's looking around and there isn't anything. So it's like they pass out because it's really intense sensation to realize you're not safe. And so it's like, oh, I'm asleep, but it's not the same sleep as if you got to discharge all the way. It's still getting
Right.
disrupted.
Yes. Yeah. I even see that. I don't know why when you were saying that, it made me think about like my experience with sick kittens. And it's like I don't know why that what you just said made me think that, but it's how incredible, like it's like the being them feeling connected to a to that is you can't just provide food and water, shelter, um, even other forms of support. Like you truly need to be there's there still needs to be that, just like what you were talking about, how allowing, because I see myself when you were saying joy comes like at the end, I see myself letting myself process things and feeling so much like naturally psychedelic at the end, but it is me sitting with myself, continuing to like give myself the support I need to keep going and to not just stop, that is allowing that. And I even see
Mm.
I've experienced that with my that I mean maybe not the same thing, but I've experienced like different things with kittens, like figuring out if they need me to wrap them, cuddle them. Some of them have started like would like nurse on my daughter's top lips and like needing that. Some of them need to play, and it's like whatever helps them discharge from
Mhm.
the trauma that they've been through, because they've been traumatized. They are with me and not their mother. And it's just been so beautiful what I just part of me just wants to start documenting all these things that I've experienced with all these cats coming in, because it's just been I've seen myself in them. I've experienced so much, like so many layers of things, but it's like I really have experienced, like, there's so much I've learned about myself and my energy mastery in my, uh, and it's like, and I've wondered, I used to wonder if I really could talk to my cats. And just in what I was just saying, I was like, well, I figured you couldn't have figured all that out if you couldn't communicate with them. Like you're reading something right if you've done that. But
Write
because
the
I
book,
did,
Candy. I want to read it. Candy's Cat Sanctuary. All the lessons you've learned.
oh yeah, I know, for whatever reason, it just like popped in my head. And I have had this like forever. I've had either that, like I've always wanted to write somehow.
Mhm.
But or write something. Um, so
I like
yeah.
it. And Okay, I want to make a note that our next conversation is going to be because you said something to me interesting the other day that like you've always, and I have it here written, like that you've always felt like there were some codes in you that you were uncovering, like that there was a mission that has like been with you. I'm gonna bookmark that for our next conversation and do a little, tickle lead on here for our listeners.
Okay.
But same. And writing and like knowing like there's gonna be stories to tell and there's gonna be lots of ways to tell the stories, but definitely writing is one of them. Um, so let's mark that for our next conversation. My dogs are like bugging me and barking me here. So you've got a lot of cats, I got a lot of dogs, but that's the point that I wanted to say, other than that bookmark, is like the children, including ourselves, our inner children, and the animals and nature, like they are constantly prompting us to remember our innocence. And that innocence is joy. I haven't thought of it in exactly those terms. Like, yes, I've felt connected to it, but I love what comes through in our conversations that I remember my mom being like, I just want you to be happy. And I was just like, I can't be happy because there's so much to solve, basically. And like, I'm not gonna lie, like, oh, you fuckers, you know? Even though I did really try to lie and to just be happy on top of so much sad and mad. But the point is, and I feel like this has to do with the codes and like that mission is that like, inner knowing and how connected we are to animals and children, it's a reflection of this inner knowing, and that this has been part of the mission is to get through the sad and mad, the drama, the gaslighting, not to build on top of it, but to actually uncover the simple, pure joy. Not to like, I've tried to like harass myself into being like happy and joyful, and I get it for moments, but like it only feels real in reflection with children and animals and nature, mostly because when I'm face to face with other adults, there's work to do. And not just to be productive and like this addiction to work, but I mean the work of getting through the sad and the mad. Like, I don't know how to be happy and joyful with you really, other than doing the work and uncovering the joy that's there. Like that's our relationship. There's so much joy in my relationship with you, in my experience.
Yeah.
But it's like because we're
Yeah,
both
it's
into this, and it's just like, oh, I'm feeling all these things, and then it's like, and then there's joy there, and this like bliss of like, thanks for witnessing me, and wow, I'm so honored to witness myself, and this is what I've been looking for all along, and oh, life is joy.
yeah.
And then more
Yeah.
layers come through where you gotta process more sad and mad. Um, but also
Yeah.
developing the boundaries, like you mentioned, taking on other people's stuff. I forget the exact words you used, but like developing a sense of your sanctuary and the boundaries of what is your responsibility to process. And because we were just the codependence that you described with the kittens, when that's nurtured really well with us, we then become sovereign. But when the codependence is mucky and extends beyond a certain age, in that muckiness, we don't have the experience of sovereignty. We have the experience of like merging and being insecure. There are a lot
Walking
of words
on
coming there, but yeah,
that landmine. That's what my mind said.
landmines. Yeah. A toxic version of an entanglement where we don't feel free and the smooth, joyful, um, prosperous justice of interdependence that is actually available among us on Earth, even right now, even as things are. Um, all it all it takes, as though it's so simple, but it is simple. Like I love when people react to me where I'm like DCFO and they're like, oh yeah, just DCFO. Like it's so simple. I'm like, but it is. Like all it takes for us to access that interdependent harmony and justice is enough of us enjoying the work of uncovering the authentic joy that is our true nature, that is the innocence alive and well in all of us. It is indestructible.
You
And
know what I was just thinking while you were saying that is like I could even see myself in those times of entanglement, of codependency, liking how like wisely I could slither through it. And I do think that that was part of the confusion of did I like it or not?
Yeah.
Like, because it's like, you know what I mean? If that
What
makes
I
sense, like
what
finding,
I what I hear there is I've always liked my own flexibility. I've
yeah,
always liked myself in my capacity to adapt and find meaning and work on the puzzle and see the patterns. And yeah, what I hear was like you were involved in the fuckery and perpetuating some fuckery in ways that you were experiencing your flexibility. And same. And we're arriving now into levels of humble presence where we can be honest with that about that without shame. And sometimes shame comes up and we then be with it to let it integrate. But it's like, yeah,
oh,
these there's
oh,
always been a
how,
love of the flexibility and openness, but
yeah, and how rapidly I could destroy my life and everyone's lives around me was pretty amazing. Like, I was like, you know, I
I
could
get
burn it all, I could burn it all down, like, and
but that's
feel
part of
good
this
about
work
it.
is
Yeah.
owning the monstrosity and like the massive capacity in us to create and to destroy. And to
But
destroy is
because
also
that,
simply
yeah,
letting go. Like I hear you, I got off on letting go, on burning things down, on being willing to restart, recreate. And it's like, well, yeah, but that's part of the hunt for that center point, the simplicity at the center of all the complexity, which is the joy and innocence, requires non-attachment. And so it's like
like,
you do
yeah,
have to be willing to machete through all the attachments. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yes. And also there's that, I just so vividly see myself in every, like, myself, so, like, I see how easily I can go from spacious to literally out of control conscious violence in the wrong setting. And
Mhm.
when I see, and not me, I don't mean just me, I mean all of us. Like just the other day down the street from me, I don't know what they were got going on. There was just cars everywhere, and someone had a bat, and they were just taking everyone's window out. Busting one window, busting the other window, busting one window, busting the other window, slashing tires. I was watching through the trees. It was low key entertaining. And because every now and then I'd see someone and they would have like a handful of chips or God, I mean, and they were just eating, taking some snacks while they were. And I thought, wow, that reminds me so much of me in those times. And it's like, and there was no judgment. The only thing I thought was, wow, like it was God, it's not fair that you're going to go lock these people up, put them in a rage room, help them just process what's going on. They didn't mean to do any of this stuff. It's not their fault. It's y'all's fault.
They don't have the language for it. Where when you said all they need and there was like a breath there, my mind filled it in was, yeah, some fascia release. Like
Yes.
honestly, just to feel safe with letting the story out. We don't. We're trained to only discharge when we have something to point it at, to barrel it at, and or
To
to
even
be sad.
to understand,
Yeah.
we need to understand our feelings. We need to understand our feelings because it needs to be appropriate for the other person. And it's like, no, actually, it is okay for you to feel anything. And I actually have experienced that in my own life in real time for the first time. Like in just my personal relationship, I was, or and just like in my personal relationships, there was someone in my life who um is just so amazing to me. And And I know, and I have, there were like things, I was going through things, but I was literally just like, I was ignoring text messages that were incredibly kind, like offerings. And I was just like cutting the connection. Who knows why? It wasn't intentional at all, probably because I was like, my kitten had gone missing. Um, I'm sure a part of me doesn't even take those types of things seriously because, for the most part, people would say that just to reel me in. But this is literally authentic. And, anyways, they said to me, like, I really feel like you're ignoring me and you're leaving me hanging and it's hurting my feelings. And when I read it, it, I was like, oh, yeah, I am doing that. And I was, and anyways, I was just like, I totally understand where you're coming from. And I just looked back and can see what I'm doing, and it's not intentional. I'm just like, and after it was over, I thought, wow, that did not entangle me at all.
Hmm.
And it seems so, of course it wouldn't. Of course it wouldn't. But I can literally, it's like there was literally over here, it was like chapters and chapters and chapters and chapters and chapters of times where when someone's feeling about something that is like just fine, I have been unable to accept, you know? And those types of like real life spaciousness where there were times in my life where if someone would have said something to me that I wasn't, that it would literally, I might think about it for a week
Hmm.
or argue it, defend it, and then all of it, and sometimes I don't even have the language for why all of that happens. But what I am doing is I am actually my in my reality, I am having these things that are like, yeah, that's so tiny seeming if we actually do it, but that is huge for me. Like, and also even in just when I was thinking, wow, like I can see how much that derailed me before. And I'm like, my questions to myself are like, how much, like, like, whatever is happening right now is good. Like, these are because you are the center of your own target. Like, no one can derail you.
Hmm.
And even at yoga the other day, my friend from yoga, I was just listening to her, and and we were I was there was it didn't last long, but they were having an experience with their boss where their boss was making like accusations about them, and it was like hard for them to take it. And I kind of went back there like, yeah, I act like this is like so little that I didn't let something get me, but in my experience in the world, this is a huge problem where we're not able to just, and I think that is why center of your own target does make everything else orient, because um all that was needed was for me to be a kind witness, to hear. This is and then in my own sovereignty, clear state, to be able to respond.
Hmm.
Love for myself and love for them. And it's like, and it everything dissipated. The energy was, it was like we went back into coherence again. And it was like all it took was just this vulnerability, because I am in my innocence.
Yeah.
And
And that you've
yeah,
been accessing that through devoted daily DCFO, discharge and circulation, so that you have access to that flexibility and openness of your innocence, of responding instead of reacting, of um, being genuine with your own insides so that you can be genuine and compassionate with the outside. And the fascia release. And so I'm gonna I'm excited. I made some notes for, and I see you making notes. I'm gonna wrap up this episode because our my battery is saying it's dying, and maybe we'll do interview actual interviews. Our intention was to make the first episode interviewing one way, the next one the next way, but it's like that's the point is
But
that an intention gets you somewhere, and then you don't force it to be exactly what you think it has to be. You allow it to be what it is. And I want to say, with the fascia release, commenting on something you said in private this morning, I hope that's okay, is
Mhm.
the like with the getting into the hips and like, oh, I've been stretching, doing every hip stretch. But I saw because my algorithm now is like all about fascia release, and I do believe that fascia is going to be this conversation of the not so distant future. It's going to be the top topic because that's where all the stuck stuff is, and that is where our liberation lives. Um, but that when fascia is dehydrated and we really stretch it, it's like we do that because it's still the forceful programming where we're like more and more and more. And so what came to my mind, but like I've been doing similar and experiencing similar, but I love that's why a huge benefit of playing together is that there's a bit more space sometimes when we're witnessing someone else, or like we're stretching the field by working together. So, what I got to
Mhm.
hear inside myself in response to your comment, like I'm stretching, but it's just like almost getting more louder, the, the tightness in my hips, um, was how about just gentle? But our egos are programmed for force,
Mhm.
and so smaller or more gentle investments can feel so silly. Um, but that's what we're getting together to do in this rapid
Mhm.
reparenting workshop is um, kind of to be silly in that way and to stroke our egos into submission to our own internal power and sanctuary, and that we do hold the field open by getting together in a group. A lot of people that I work with are like quite neurodivergent, quite introverted, or some combination of that, where they're like, oh, I'm a bit like, I don't really like groups. It's just like, I relate. And we're doing it anyways because we stretch the field open together, and I'm rooting for you if you do it alone, or if that's like you got to follow your intuition, your inner knowing. But if that resistance is coming from your ego connecting to how rapidly this will shift your relationship with your own natural capacities, come anyways, right? And we're both having that experience again and again, day and day, by having these conversations, which we're having even more
Yeah.
because we're working together on holding this space now. And so, rapid reparenting workshop at House of Antidote Aesthetic. I'll be facilitating, Candy is supporting, and we're going to be reflecting on some gene keys, which has been a magical part of our relationship already. 6 gene keys that speak to what is a healthy environment for a child to grow up in to maintain their relationship with, the word they use is enlightenment, but it's the same as that joy, the innocence, to maintain relationship connection to where we experienced it as this like thread that was playing hide and go seek with us through all of the trauma and gaslighting. How do we actually reverse it and allow that to be the full-blown experience? So we're going to be contemplating and having conversations on that. Let that provoke and, and tickle us and trigger us, etc. But
Yeah.
meanwhile, also be invested in fascia release and bite-sized, self-stimming somatic nonverbal practices so that we can get into the glory of DCFO, which is a language we already innately speak, and just letting that take over the trauma, and not in a way where we're pushing, taking over by force, but actually,
Mm.
uh,
Surrender.
yeah, letting the full flow occur, letting the energy recycle so that our reality is um,
Flexible and open.
flexible and open, exactly, is what's possible versus what has been that creates feelings of impossibility. So thank you for talking with me, Candy. Anybody listening that wants to join, there'll be a link wherever you're experiencing this. And that's coming up soon, but it'll also be a repeat opportunity. Candy, save your questions, save your notes, because we are going to have another conversation soon.
I'm so grateful for this because well, and you should, like, I just thought if you're nervous, maybe I'll tell you this because it'll make you more nervous. I was like, as we were speaking, I was thinking of the best questions. I was like throwing them down, and I was like, this is how it was felt so much like flow because I had started a bit getting nervous. Like, should I do questions? And then it wasn't working. Like, should I think about it? And then I just thought I was just really connecting with my higher self. Like, let just whatever, like, let me be guided in this. And just in our talking, these when you would be talking, I would get these ideas to write stuff down. So I literally got the things that I was needing with this, which is amazing. And second, I went outside and did your little sweet little hip circles. And while I was sitting here, my hips were popping. So it was like, I was like, oh, well, okay. Beautiful. Um, and which brings me back to humility. Like, okay, I'll try that. You know what I mean? I'll
Mhm.
actually try, even though, you know, even
Even
though
though
it's a
some
little
parts of me are saying it's stupid. Okay,
yeah,
anyways.
yeah.
And so what we're talking about is just some sweet hip circles while saying my body is amazing, rebirthing, just that gentle stroking, lubricating the fascia. So,
It was hard for me to do it. It was not easy for me to like I thought whatever. But when I got out there, I was having trouble circling my hip. Like it was like trying to go in like it wasn't circling. And I was like, "Oh, okay." You know.
oh, it's like
Um
habitual, like, oh, I'm gonna stretch. Is that what you mean? Like that's what
Yeah,
happening. Like,
it felt like I was doing very like very sharp lines.
mm,
Like and it was like to actually be able to round I was feeling. And then I thought, well, that makes a lot of sense. Like if I'm feeling my because I can feel my fascia like clamp down on it. So it makes sense that just like how would you get a how do you get things loose? Like if you have something that's stuck, you don't just pull one way, you move a little back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, you know? So I was like, oh, okay. But sometimes I am like I can see myself being like, enough of this goddamn healing. And I'm just like coming in like we're done.
yeah.
And I think it's gonna happen. And then the opposing side is like, no, they're not even trying at all not to move. And I'm trying so hard. And they're just sitting there like smoking a cigarette. That's how I feel. That's how I felt actually after when I was out there. I was like, oh, I could see how forceful I am, you know? Like it's just the way.
It's not
So
your true identity, but it is the conditioning that's really been labored into the operating system. Yeah,
yeah.
it's awkward and clunky, and I love that metaphor of like, oh, the smooth circles felt almost inaccessible, and it was like these straight, harsh lines, and it's like, yeah, perfect metaphor. But and that's what we are devoted to continuing to face together is the noticing of where the operating system has been imprinted with force and trying to get there
Mhm.
fast and how trying to get there fast slows us down and we're getting into the slow is smooth and smooth is fast and making these crazy quantum leaps and celebrating ourselves and celebrating each other. So stay tuned for episode 2 and we will see you soon. Oh my God. I didn't record that entire thing.
Well, maybe it's meant to be. Oh, shit.
I just went to press record. Went to press stop. Oh no, it is recording. It is. It is. It's recording.
Oh,
I love how we just accepted that though. But oh my God.
I thought, well, I was like, well, I have all my questions, so it's fine.
Oh my gosh, come back for the humor and the value. Love you. Bye.